Hello! With the latest news and the possible threat of a third world war, I am feeling extremely stressed and anxious. Everything is starting to make sense to me. How are you coping? If that thought or, something like it has been on your mind lately, I really want you to hear this. What you're feeling is an incredibly common, totally valid response to the tension we're all seeing in the world. That feeling of meaninglessness, it's heavy. It can feel really disorienting. So let's just take a moment and gently unpack why this happens and what we can do to feel a little more grounded. Okay, so let's get into the why of it all. The most important thing to get right off the bat is that this feeling of anxiety isn't some kind of personal flaw. It's not a sign that you're weak. It's actually a deeply wired biological response. And just understanding that is the first real step toward managing it. Seriously, when we're surrounded, just bombarded by news of conflict and uncertainty, our brains are just doing what they're designed to do. They're scanning for threats to keep us safe. Think of it as a feature, not a bug. It's like we all have this ancient alarm system built in. For millennia, it was fantastic at keeping us safe from immediate dangers. But here's the catch in our modern world. That same alarm is being triggered constantly by a 24/7 stream of global news. The threat feels huge and far away, but our bodies, they react as if the danger is right outside the door. And that leads to this state of chronic stress and that feeling of just being completely powerless. So, if this is just our brains doing their job, what do we do? The big question becomes, how do we work with our biology instead of just feeling like we're fighting it? Well, here are 5 really practical steps you can take to reclaim a sense of stability and control in your own life. All right, step 1. This one might be the most crucial because it gets right to the source of that feeling of being completely overwhelmed, that constant flow of information that keeps our nervous system on high alert. To break the cycle, you have to consciously limit your news intake. This doesn't mean sticking your head in the sand. It just means being intentional. Maybe you pick 1 or 2 reliable sources and check in just once, maybe twice a day. That one simple boundary, it can make a huge difference. Now for our second strategy. This one is all about getting back your sense of agency, your feeling of being in the driver's seat of your own life. Look, global events are way beyond our individual control, and that's a tough pill to swallow, but we can find our power again in our daily lives. I'm talking about small, real actions. Taking a walk, having a real conversation with someone, organizing one drawer, anything that grounds you in the present. It really does restore a vital sense of stability. Okay, on to step 3. This one is about targeting a very specific pattern of thinking that absolutely pours fuel on the fire of anxiety. Our brains are just wired to jump to the worst-case scenario. It's part of that old survival mechanism. So it can be really helpful to gently remind yourself that while the worst feels very possible right now, history is full of moments of intense tension that, well, they de-escalate. They don't always lead to the absolute worst outcome. The 4th step tackles the physical side of all this stress, because our minds and our bodies are not separate things. They're deeply connected. We have to give our bodies a chance to dial it down from that constant state of high alert. Things like deep breathing exercises, some gentle movement, or even just spending a few minutes outside in nature, they aren't just distractions. They physically lower stress hormones in your body and help calm your entire nervous system. And that brings us to our 5th and final step. This is how we push back directly against that crushing feeling of meaninglessness. So when your mind starts spiraling into those "what's the point of anything" thoughts, try to gently guide it back. Guide it to a smaller, more immediate question. What has meaning for me today? The answer isn't some grand, abstract thing. It's in the people right in front of you, the small joys in your day, the things you are building right here, right now. Now, all 5 of these steps can really be held together by one core idea, a kind of guiding principle for how to navigate our really complex world right now. This is a principle that many psychologists recommend: awareness without immersion. What does that mean? It means you can be aware of what's happening in the world without letting it completely drown your own mind and your emotional well-being. It's about finding that balance, staying informed, but also protecting your inner peace. There's one last, really important thing I want to share. If everything we've talked about sounds familiar, that's because it is a shared experience. It's so shared, in fact, that there's a name for it. Just by giving it a name, news anxiety, we can start to feel a little less isolated. See, this isn't just you. It's a recognized and really widespread response to our modern world. I promise you are not alone in feeling this way. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with that same simple question we touched on earlier. It's a question that can be a real anchor when you feel overwhelmed. Instead of looking out at the vastness of the world's problems, just for a moment, let's turn our focus inward. What is meaning for you, right here, today?